Hello, Taurus, and welcome, or welcome back to Bohemian Path Tarot. I'm Jen, and today we are doing June readings. I've got the Unfolding Path Tarot here, and I like to kind of skip over the shuffling part just to get to the good stuff. So I am going to go ahead and give the deck a really good shuffle for you, but I will meet you on the other side of the shuffle for your reading. See you there. Okay, Taurus, let's see what we've got. The Moon, Judgment, the Emperor, and the King of Pentacles. Wow. Wow. Okay, so the first thing we notice right off, right, is the King of Pentacles, which is typically a card that represents Taurus, or the energy of Taurus, surrounded by three major arcana cards. Now, the King of Pentacles can represent an actual person in your life, or it can represent a phase when you are supported in being responsible in maintaining your security, your sort of financial stability, in being a responsible, money maker, money manager, a responsible grown up. The King of Pentacles represents a responsible money manager, is mature, competent, earthy, respectable. This is typically a card that would represent someone in the business world, someone who does well for themselves, someone who can make money, put away some for savings, who knows how to plan for the future, who is good at managing funds, who maybe even has a good portfolio. I am so not this character, so I don't even really know how to speak very well about sort of money management and those issues. But the fact that this card shows up in this position indicates that this is sort of the issue at hand in June. Being a sort of responsible money manager, being confident and capable with your funds, with your financial stability, with sort of how you support yourself and maybe your family. This doesn't necessarily have to represent you. This could represent a phase when you are well supported in being responsible, in being, maybe learning more about your portfolio, in maybe receiving an inheritance and being responsible with it, or taking proactive steps and putting it in. Like I said, I am not a financial planner. If you have any funds that you need to move around, please seek a professional, which is not me. But the fact that this card is here indicates a time when you can take proactive steps to enhance or to support your security in that way. Although the first card we have here is the Moon, and the Moon is not super practical and not super responsible. The Moon is kind of all about vibes, right? The Moon is about taking in emotional data. It's about having impressions. It's really good for shadow work and really good for, maybe speaking to relatives on the other side, or doing your Ouija board, or, tarot cards or whatever, but it's not really about practical times. So, or practical matters. This is absolutely a time when practical decisions should not be made. So I would say, and I apologize in advance if this sounds harsh, but to anyone who may have recently lost a loved one, if this is coming up around an inheritance from someone who has passed, if you are still grieving, it might not be the right time to make practical decisions about your finances. And it may be more responsible to wait until the tough part of grieving is over. I've lost a loved one in the past year, and so I absolutely support you in maybe putting sort of practical issues to the side, and dealing with your grief and dealing with the loss and doing whatever you need to do, doing therapy or joining a grief group or whatever you need to do to go if this is kind of where you're at right now. And the moon card could certainly indicate that. If you are not going through a loss, the moon is still indicating a time when shadow work may be appropriate, or any creative endeavors dealing with sort of fundamental, maybe family of origin issues, or dealing with any sort of mental or emotional issues that need to be worked through from at any stage or any kind of grief in your life. But it's not a time for attending to practical matters. Moving through challenges and difficulties and kind of dealing with your own areas of self-sabotage with the help of a professional before, and putting, some of your own issues in order first, your own sort of mental, emotional issues in order first, before making any major life decisions is kind of the responsible thing to do. Now, the next card we have here is Judgment. And Judgment, interestingly, is a card that in the traditional imagery, it shows people kind of being called out of coffins by an angel of the Lord. It's very Judeo-Christian. There is I think it's Gabriel that trumpets, and Gabriel, this trumpeting releases people from their coffins, and that imagery is supposed to symbolize, being released from confinement and being freed from sort of the trappings or the restrictions, actually, of earthly life. There's a sense of not just freedom, but a freedom from restriction, a freedom from being bound, a freedom from being sort of contained by rules and structure and maybe even roles that didn't fit us, roles like our roles in life, or definitions, our own self-definitions or our own expectations of ourselves. There's a kind of a passing through, like almost a graduation, where you're kind of released from a tough cycle and you've made it through, and you get to kind of just be your true self, your true essence. When you kind of break through this moment of working through your shadow side and kind of embrace the truth of yourself, when you acknowledge the things that hurt you or the things that were holding you back, or whatever your self-sabotaging areas are, when you kind of embrace the truth of yourself and bring parts of yourself that you were maybe hiding from yourself to light, that's when you're in your kind of judgment phase. When you forgive yourself for the truth of yourself and live in your truth, that's when you're in your judgment phase. And that's a better time to start making decisions about your life, when you are really ready to take stock of, when you accept who you are, then you can make decisions about what you need next and what comes next. And that's when we see kind of better decision-making skills, stronger sort of building what comes next, the life that makes more sense for moving forward. So, gosh, Taurus, let's review, because it does look like it's time for you to be more responsible, or to make some choices, or you have some decisions to make, or it's time for you to step into sort of your full maturity, and be responsible, maybe with some finances or some big decisions you have to make. But that perhaps there are some maybe issues from your family of origin, or some wounds from earlier life that you haven't yet dealt with, or you haven't resolved, or that have come up recently, that kind of need to be brought into the light. And once you kind of face those issues, when you kind of acknowledge some truths, or give voice to some truths that you've never really honored up to this point, it will free you in a way that'll allow you to be released from some expectations of yourself, maybe even from some expectations other people had of you, or expectations you didn't know you'd been carrying around all this time, that you don't need to have for yourself anymore. Or you'll be able to voice your truth to people around you, maybe loved ones, maybe family members, but you'll be able to live in a truth, or live your truth in a way that will allow you to make some decisions and make some choices, and start building a more stable environment, set some stable foundations to build the world, to build the life that you deserve, and build a life for more stability. Because ultimately, what we have here in sort of the foundation and in the future is stability, and you building a greater a greater sense of stability for yourself. We go from this kind of watery, mushy kind of a need for healing place, to this release, to this foundation and structure, and sort of more grown up. And ultimately, Taurus, you're really good at structure. You're really good at building a routine and having that firm foundation. So this must feel kind of gross. But as soon as you really bring this kind of this uncertainty, or this unhealed thing to light, you'll be able to release yourself and move forward to the stuff that you really like, this kind of stability that you prefer. So I hope that's helpful, Taurus. I hope that makes sense. I hope that gives you some encouragement and validation. In any case, thank you so much for stopping by. Take good care of yourself. And until next time, bye for now.